let's just dive right in. Share with us Workscapes and just the history and how you came up with the idea, just from a high level overview. Love for the listeners to hear that.
Sure. Well, I really fell into the furniture business. So I love fashion. And growing up, my dad picked out all my clothes. We had a daddy-daughter. That was our thing to go do. And with or without him, he just was meticulous about textiles and loved building homes and beautiful spaces. And so I think all these things were building in me as things that I love. And I actually was an advertising major at SMU and thought I would go into that, but I really wanted to pursue fashion retail. So I started with some small boutiques in Chicago. Mark Shale, not around anymore, ultimately moved out of the freezing Chicago, my hometown, and came down to Florida, where my parents were. And I joined Neiman Marcus, and it was there really, what an innovative, back then too, the designers came in person, and it was great, but it was retail nights and weekends. And I was in South Florida. I was actually dating a family friend. Our dads were best friends, and I didn't know many people in Fort Lauderdale. One thing led to another. He had a party. I met Dick, who then became my husband.
Oh, how funny. That was awkward, huh?
Well, you'd think, but he ended up being in our wedding. So I guess it wasn't overly awkward. He's a great guy, and we stay in touch, and we were really more just hanging out.
Right.
But my husband is extremely loyal, so he wouldn't ask me out because of the friend. And finally I had to clear it up with the friend, and say, hey, this is all good. So our first date was on the golf course.
Very cool.
And that was great. 3 men and myself. And one thing led to another. He was transferred. He was in distribution with Armstrong World Industries, was transferred to Atlanta. Night before he's physically moving, I had helped him pick out a house in Atlanta. He had a limo pick me up after work and proposed on I-95, heading up to have dinner with my father and stepmother. And he had obviously asked his permission, for his blessing on the wedding, but proposed. And so my mother then proceeded to plan a wedding in 90 days.
Wow.
And we had only dated 6 months.
Wow.
So I transferred with Neiman Marcus and was able to do that, which was wonderful. But we found quickly that we knew each other 9 months. For one, we were very young, and I was working nights and weekends. And Dick was traveling Sunday to Thursday, Monday to Thursday. So I thought, this is not a great way to start a marriage.
Right.
So he said, why don't you look at outside sales? And I have a buddy over at this furniture dealership. Why don't you just go talk to them? So it turned out to be a wonderful dealership, very well known, and a great place. So somehow they took me in. I knew nothing about it except my background, just
right, in fashion and
and loving furniture and just being around, great architecture and with my dad's passion for that. So I joined there, and after I was expecting our second child, and I thought about this the other morning because how flexible work is now.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually inquired about what seemed so bold at that time was to have a 4-day work week. Like,
right.
No way.
And that was unheard of probably at the time.
No way. So I'm the youngest of 4, and we've all had our own businesses. So it was at that time I thought, I want to kind of own my own
Your own thing.
deal and my own thing and have the flexibility as a mom. And so I went out on my own, and one of my mentors from the dealership, she went out on her own, and then we worked a little bit together in Atlanta, and we were doing used furniture and different things, just selling open lines, wasn't affiliated with a major line, of course. And then as my husband and I talked about our family goals, we didn't have any family in Atlanta, and our kids were now 3 and almost 1. And so we talked about, he was getting ready to be promoted and perhaps move to Denver, moving us. And I said, that's fine. I'll move my business anywhere. And he said, no, I really don't want to do that. I said, what do you mean? Well, I want to build something together. So he ultimately joined our business. And I said, well, if you want to really get in this business, let's and we want to move to Florida where our family is. Let's talk to some people I know who are owners. So we talked with an owner of a dealership in Atlanta, and we we're getting ready to leave, and the phone rang, and it was the owner of a dealership in Orlando, Florida. And he said, I want to sell my business. So
Wow.
yes.
It's very interesting how that lines up.
So
Right.
I was literally putting on my coat. It was pouring rain in Atlanta. So we flew down to Orlando and did the due diligence of this little business, which had 6 people, and it was a Knoll dealership. Knoll's a major manufacturer. And we had to get accepted by Knoll. So we started that together. And
Wow.
that was a really busy time. We were trying to find a place to live. We had 2 little kids, and my mother came to help me find childcare and everything. And I was upset because I couldn't find anything. I didn't know anybody. It was a whole new environment.
Mhm.
And I flashed a piece of paper in front of her with 6 colors, and I said, pick a company color. And she picked our green, which turned out to be the hot color for the next 20 plus years. And we thought of the name WorkScapes really earlier in Atlanta because the office landscape is that it's a landscape, and it should be dynamic, and it should be changing, and it should evolve.
Right.
I love that. Yeah. And I have so much respect for someone who can just start a company with 2 small kids, and it's just like you put all in, and you moved to Orlando and started this. And I don't know, just the drive and the passion that goes into it. I have so much respect for that.
Well, thank you. It's really been a partnership. My husband and I, we learned on our first date we could play golf together and get along. So we figured we could get along in the business. And we really have complementary skill sets. We have many in common, but we also have complementary ones. So he's really, his background in business and operations has really helped. I'm more sales, marketing, front end. And so it's been a nice combination. And he's a tremendous coach and leader as well. And you have lots to talk about when you get home, but you have to shut it off.
Right.
Kids.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So,
yeah. How is that?
We started with WorkScapes. It was when we bought the little business, it was the owner had sort of lost interest in the business. And so it once been pretty prominent with clients like SunTrust and Marriott. And so those are the first 2 I called. I took my new cards and headed out to see these customers. And they were somewhat disgruntled with the state of the business. So we slowly earned their trust and respect, and we built the revenues there from under 2 million. Our second year we did 23 million, which was
wow.
And we also hired a head of business development who ended up with us for many, many years. She was with an architectural firm there and was very credible because we had no credibility in Orlando outside the fact Dick called all his fraternity brothers because of the problems. So we got our accountant, our lawyer, all of our key sources for the purchase of the business was through his fraternity brothers and friends.
Yeah, that's how it happens, right?
So then
you got to start somewhere.
Exactly. So then we expanded down to South Florida, and we then really hit a time in our business where it sort of plateaued, and we thought, okay, we can either sell, we can grow, or we just kind of stay the same as a boutique.
Right.
So wrote this sort of my middle name. So we really wanted to grow. And
what got you past that plateau? I'm curious, like as a business owner, right? We're always trying to grow. And then, inevitably you're going to hit a plateau. How did you get over that?
Well, there's a phrase, wise men seek counsel. And for so many years, it was sort of Dick and Elizabeth hands-on doing everything. And we had a consultant in, and he said, where's the rest of your leadership team? So,
you're looking at it.
We've done pretty well so far. And he said, you have to scale for something bigger if you want to get. And so we really sort of hired at a higher level. We got some more expertise in the door. We had really committed people many still with us today. And just really was focused on our goals of how, now that we kind of made that decision and took that jump, how, what size do we want to be? What is bigger better, or is just better,
Mhm.
better?
Right.
And how do we want to grow this company? And so we've learned a lot over the years. And then in 2011, so we started the business in 1998, and 2011 we were really wanted to grow that statewide footprint. And we were introduced to Herman Miller, and they were sort of looking for some different representation, and we were looking to grow statewide. So they owned the distribution in Florida. So we ended up buying all their dealerships in Florida, 5 at one
Wow.
time.
Wow.
Over the 18 months we talked and negotiated. And so it was in 2013 we grew from 2 locations to 5. And we also moved our family to Miami.
Wow.
So that was challenging. 'Cause,
Right. That's a job in and of itself, finding schools and a home and
yes,
getting established
and
that
yanking your
way.
kids around. I mean,
Right.
we spent many spring breaks fixing up showrooms we were opening, and they just learned it was a family business, and they're very adaptable.
Mhm.
They've been moved around a lot. So when we moved to Miami, thinking we had to be in the biggest market in the state,
Right.
now we moved there. Our son was that who's now with us in the business was suffering from cancer. So he is a
Really?
second. He's a 2-time survivor of
Wow.
lymphoma. So that was probably the most challenging, and that's the biggest question I get is how did you and did keep going through that?
Right.
Right.
Because when we were negotiating the purchase of the 5 dealerships from Herman Miller, he was in the hospital off and on, and I was literally taking calls and
Wow.
just keeping him company in the
Right.
Florida hospital down the street
Wow.
from our office. So it was a very challenging time, and getting him off to college, which he ultimately did start on time, and he finished in 4
Awesome.
years,
Good.
and he was a pitcher in college and loved baseball.
Nice.
But, his senior year came back. So we dealt with that. And then the other 2 moved down to Miami, which was quite a change for them, but
Mhm.
turned out to be a great move. And then most recently in 2018, we sold our Miami location, which afforded us the opportunity to move to any of our other 4 locations.
Right.
And we chose Tampa. And we chose Tampa because we wanted to, we needed some leadership here, and we wanted to really grow this team and this market, and we felt the timing was right. And we made Tampa our headquarters.
I think you're spot on with that. I mean,
We're happy you came here.
yeah, absolutely.
So now it's almost been 25 years since you started
Right.
WorkScapes. Congratulations. And you've had so much success. And I'm sure just within the past 2 years, the whole workplace has changed a lot. Like, how have you had to adapt to that? Just changing culture from all these companies that are going through changes. Like, what have you had to do?
Well, a key change in our company that allowed us to serve our customers better was really adopting a system called EOS, and it's based on the book Traction by Gino Wickman,
Mhm.
and it's an entrepreneurial operating system. Because you asked how we grew, how did we make that leap to that
Right.
next stage of business, that stage 2 of business, and we realized that we needed some structure. We had very committed people, but we didn't necessarily have defined roles where people knew where their jobs started and stopped. And so we sort of started with our own selves,
Mhm.
and we hired a professional consultant, an implementer of EOS, to come in. And we started this in Miami, and we're continuing with the same consultant. He was just here a couple weeks ago. We've technically graduated from the program, but we're very dedicated to it. And basically it brought structure, but yet didn't compromise our entrepreneurial spirit.
Mhm.
And so it has tremendously improved communication, up-down communication. We have a certain way we lead our meetings. It's all very consistent. And so people feel with multiple locations, they feel they're in the know.
Right.
Everything's very open and honest, very transparent. We have regular company updates. We share all information. with our employees. And we made the conscious decision at that time, 4.5 years ago, to really take great care of our employees. And I think when you do that, they're going to take great care of our customers.
Mm-hmm.
And our first part of our career, my career, I was always the customer's king. Whatever needs to be done, I'm doing it. We're all doing it. We're mopping the floor. We're doing whatever the customer needs. But in reality, we really need to take good care of our employees and our staff.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a tremendous move because I feel it was transformational in our culture. And we really updated our mission, our vision, our 5 core values. We hire around our 5 core values.
Right.
Sometimes we let people go and be happy somewhere else around our 5 core values because not everyone's going to align with them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they do align, it's just harmonious because you have everybody rowing in the boat. You have everybody knowing their why they're doing this and what we're here to do. And they're taking good care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So from the pandemic standpoint, we really, I say my title is Chief Encouragement Officer because it's really what we spent a lot of time just making sure that our employees were okay,
Right.
had the tools they needed, and could just, there's so many situations with families and so too with our clients. There's such a wide spectrum of what people are doing, their situation. A lot of companies aren't based here, so they were subject to the policies that they want to do from New York or Chicago, or so even though Florida was more open, they weren't open because of the policies of of the corporate policies. So we just took a very case by case approach, finding out what our clients needed and then helping them navigate through the pandemic. And then what does the workplace look like? Well, it's changed.
Right. Talk to us about that because you're in hospitality, you're in corporate America, you're in hospitals, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you see many different industries and you've seen them, like you said, go through COVID and just different changes. And even in 2022 now, things are still changing, right?
Yes.
So talk to us about the workforce, what does that look like now? What have you seen?
Well, I'm sure you've read a wide range of things from the office is dead to everyone's going to work from home.
Right. Which is a myth.
I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's depressing after a while to work solely at home. It's also hard to kind of be your best and get the work done. So,
Right.
The office is becoming this community center, this town center where it's a compelling, dynamic, exciting place, ideally, that supports the work that particular company does and those people do. And it's a very human-centered approach. But it's based on a lot of research. And our main partner, Herman Miller, they are stellar at workplace research. And so we lean a lot on their research and their findings. But really, the 3 reasons people are going to, come to that workplace is for community socialization. We need it. We're wired that way.
Mm-hmm.
We're wired to be with other people. And the second reason would be for individual focus. And we loaned task chairs, Herman Miller high performance seating, out to a lot of architects and designers during the pandemic.
Did you? Yeah.
We delivered them to their homes because they were at their dining room table.
I know.
With kids running, crawling underneath, and the work had to still get done.
Right.
Very distracting. So
Yes.
the office will be a place for individual focus. Teamwork. You can only, the third reason, team collaboration. You can only do so much work over Teams or Zoom.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And these virtual calls get very monotonous. You lose people. They're looking at other things or distracted.
Right.
So the dynamic nature of a team coming together and meeting at a place that supports them with great technology tools, great furnishings, great layouts, flexible layouts, will really make it someplace you want to be.
Right.
And we've all heard about the amenities. That's important too. The clean air, but also good coffee, the snacks, the health initiatives. There's all that's going on, but we're one of those ingredients with really great great design. And if
Mhm.
you have great design, it can foster great work. So the landscape has changed, as you'll see in our headquarters here. A lot more small meeting rooms, a lot more huddle spaces, phone booths
Right.
that just give people a lot of choice.
Mhm.
No longer is, and this was happening before the pandemic, no longer you just come to your assigned cubicle and you work for the day. How
No.
boring is that?
Oh,
And
so
then
boring.
go home.
Right.
Now the real estate is very inclusive. It's
Mhm.
very equitable. You can use the entire footplate,
Mhm.
ideally.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, what I love too, whenever you were showing us around your office, which is beautiful, is the areas. They're all, you can take down the walls, you can move them around easily, because in this ever changing like workplace right now, I think everyone has to be adaptable. So having that capability where you don't have to like tear down walls
Yes.
is like important whenever you're
Mhm.
considering a space. And I don't
Well,
know.
even with all the great research, how are we supposed to really future-proof a space?
Right.
Right.
And so a lot of our content this past year and our blogs and different things we've been communicating to our clients and to our audiences is really around this elastic interior,
Mhm.
and to create a space that's really just a shell, and then the inside comes to life with very portable modular pieces
Mhm.
that look great and look substantial and permanent, but they can be changed on a dime.
They really do. Like, we're looking out into part of the WorkScapes office right now, and I love the glass walls. They're so beautiful, and they look permanent, but they're not. You can take them down. What did you say, in 4 hours or something like that?
Yes, so they sit on top of the floor covering. They don't wreck the floor covering, and they hook into your ceiling. So if you build early with that in mind, with modularity in mind, before a lot of unsustainable drywall has been put up, you can really create a dynamic environment. And then taken beyond the walls, we're seeing a lot of furnishings that are very easy for teams to move around themselves. This is not something that you need to call facilities for or make a plan like you would with the walls.
Right.
It's really furniture that can morph into accommodating different size teams just in a matter of minutes.
Mhm.
Very
So
cool.
that leads to a very productive, high performing space. And that's what we help clients achieve based on their outcomes that they want to have. And really their personality, their culture, all those things go into the designing of the space.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you were to go back in time, and if you could do anything different in your business or the growth piece of it, like, would you do anything different? Would you change anything?
Well, we've made some really great decisions and we've made some really dumb ones. And you just can't be afraid of failing.
Mhm.
And I think I probably would have, I don't have any regrets. I will say that. I do not have any regrets. And I think that I've had more occasions where I'm just so grateful. I've learned so much from our team, more than I've learned and I continue to learn. And I hope that I can coach and mentor too. And that's become a lot of my role now, is just really running alongside our incredible team and helping clients and serving clients. I never want to take my eye off that. I've gotten busy over the years that I wish it's taken me a minute to just get back. Really what my dad told me was, you just never get too far from the customer,
Mhm.
because you really need to keep an eye on that, and stay involved so that you have your ear and you can really bring value to your team. And so I try and be in my best seat now, and it's different than it was years ago. I'm not as hands-on, but yet I'm where I want to provide value and grow and mentor and coach our great team.
That's great.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Yeah.
And, I think just having WorkScapes here based in Tampa now, and so many companies coming to Tampa, I think it's an exciting time. And I get excited every day whenever I hear of companies coming to the area, and just how with the new designs of companies and seeing the areas, how they're so adaptable now and just adapting to the new, work environment, I think is so important.
Yes, I do too.
So thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you so much. This was so eye-opening. And I love that, you also feel like, hey, it's a myth that we're just going to be working from home from now on full
Right,
time.
right.
The office is still thriving, but it's thriving in a different way, and it's
Yes.
thriving for the employees. So I love that. I think that's eye-opening, I think, for a lot of candidates looking out there and trying to find their next
Their next
role.
path.
Yeah, their next path. Exactly.
I like that.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank
and
you.
thank you to our listeners.
Mhm.
We're so excited to see what, the companies and leaders come to the area and what 2022 will bring.
Yes.
So
And until next time, live bold and boss up.